Hello, everyone, and welcome back to a totally normal podcast about films, Atom Path. Where today, you may have noticed we have a bit of a love for Japan, because we're back to Japan for Shin Godzilla. I am Claire, this is my co-host.
Leon. Hello.
Where do we begin with this movie?
It's a good question.
So let's just give a general spoiler-free thoughts first.
Okay, that sounds like a good start.
Do you want to go first, or should I?
You can go because your impression is more fresh.
Okay, this is the best kaiju movie. I'm just being blunt. This is the best Godzilla movie. This is the best handling of kaijus I've ever seen. I think this movie's great for kaiju fans. I think this movie's great for general audiences.
Yeah, I agree.
And we're going to go more in detail as to why, but I think the key thing to take from it is, if you've watched a Godzilla movie and didn't like it, this isn't like other Godzilla movies.
Even though it takes it honors the original.
It's almost a remake of the original in a way.
Yeah.
I'd say this is more a disaster movie than a kaiju movie.
Yeah, it's just that the disaster has the form of a kaiju.
Yeah, it just happens there's a giant atomic lizard. So you agree that it's like the best Godzilla movie?
Yeah, it's my favorite so far. So I didn't watch all Godzilla movies, that's why I say so far, but I don't...
Yeah, there's like fucking 30 of them.
Yeah. I think it's the 29th installment.
I'm gonna look this up, because I think we're at like 34 or something right now. I did not open my browser.
Wikipedia says it's the 29th. Godzilla.
Okay,
film.
out of.
So
yeah, but like how many?
Really just Godzilla, not Mothra. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's the 31st installment of the Godzilla franchise.
Okay.
Okay, wait.
It's the 29th Japanese, it's the 31st in general.
Yeah.
Okay, and there are, right now, there have been 32 from Toho.
Mm-hmm.
There are 36 Godzilla movies.
36.
I mean, like, before we get really into this, I think I need to bring this up, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people roll their eyes at Godzilla. You know, I don't blame people for doing that. You know, it's a silly franchise.
It became a silly franchise.
It did become a silly franchise.
It wasn't from the start.
But I think what a lot of people don't get is there would not be 36 Godzilla movies if people didn't like them.
Yeah. So I think the last Japanese installment before Shin Godzilla was in 2004.
Yes, and that was Final Wars, which... We're going to get to Final Wars one day, because that's a film I really want to watch with you. Godzilla fights everyone in it.
And Final Wars, yeah, it's a huge celebration of the franchise.
It's like Endgame. We're the most ambitious crossover. Final Wars just to like hold my beer. So yeah, we both think you should watch Shin Godzilla.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether you're a fan or not. We're just gonna get into spoilers, I think, because it's kind of hard to not talk about this movie without spoiling everything about it. And unlike most kaiju movies, I really think you should go into this one as blind as possible.
Yeah, even though it's kind of hard to spoil this movie because everybody knows Godzilla will destroy a city. That's what Godzilla usually does. But
yeah, it does some really good things with, you know what's coming, but it plays off the suspense and your expectations.
yes.
Okay, so we are in spoiler territory now.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Holy shit, what a film.
Yeah. You watched it yesterday.
I watched it yesterday.
A week before you. Because I couldn't
But
wait
you've
any
watched
longer.
it before.
Yes.
This was my first time watching. I've had the DVD for years, but I've just never got round to it. It's such a good movie.
It seems like this is a trait of you to just let Hideaki Anno's work untouched for years. You know who this guy is?
It's not like I have a Japanese DVD box set of Evangelion just sitting on my shelf because I'm too scared to find out if it has subtitles. I don't have Evangelion up there. No. Yeah, this is my first Hideaki Anno thing. I think I'm just gonna look up his work. Because I haven't watched either. But no, this is the first of his I've watched.
Yeah, okay.
And oh my gosh, it was so good. Wait, no, it was the second. I watched Fooly Cooly.
Fooly Cooly? Oh, okay. Yeah.
And that was an experience.
Mm-hmm.
This is possibly the most Japanese. Okay, so the best way I could describe it is this is the most Japanese Godzilla movie, but in a different way to how I'd normally say it is.
It's really...
Because when I went into this movie, I was expecting a darker take on Godzilla. What I was not expecting was a political drama about how Japan functions since post-war Japan in a military sense.
And it's even though it's dark, it has comedic tones to it.
Oh, I fucking pissed myself at the Prime Minister's briefing.
Yeah.
Where it's like, he will not come on land. And the advisor's like, yeah, he's come on land. Should we just kind of... how do you want to take this? Like, the approach to discussing this film's plot? Do you want to take a method to it, or should we just talk about it?
I think we should just talk about it. Maybe not go chronologically through it.
Yeah, just kind of just have a chat about it. Okay.
Yeah.
So the first thing I really wanted to bring up, if that's okay, is Godzilla himself.
Which form are we talking
All of
about?
just Godzilla in general.
Okay.
All of them. Because as you just mentioned, this is really unique because he's evolving through the movie.
Yes. I think he has 4 or 5 forms.
He has 4. A concept art book has his 5th form. Basically, I think the director said that, like, if they didn't take him out at the end of the movie, he would have just keep evolving until he would have become just apocalyptic.
Yeah, I heard that he would become his own universe.
I think people have saying that, like, if he had gotten to, like, phase 6, he would have just become a fucking Evangelion angel.
Yeah, I saw concept art of it. And then they said they couldn't put it in the movie because it would be too disturbing for viewers.
Yeah. Apparently that's a lot of the cut content is like gives a bit too much. I love the whole evolving concept. It's a really nice spin on him.
Yeah. Like, this is the first time in a long time that I was that I felt Godzilla as an actual threat, you know?
Yes, he is utterly destructive. Like, when I watch other Godzilla movies, I see him as, like, nature incarnate, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I didn't see him as that. I saw him as the devil.
Yes.
He was downright demonic.
Because sometimes Godzilla is viewed upon as the good guy.
Mm-hmm.
And in this movie, he's certainly not. But
Yeah,
it doesn't seem like he has a conscious... Like, it's his conscious decision to destroy everything. It's more like...
He
He
seems like he's in pain.
Yes. Like, he is a force of nature. What he represents.
He's not he's not like a territorial creature like he is in the old movies. He is literally destruction incarnate.
Yeah.
And I mean, I fucking love all the designs. I think the first two are a bit the first few you see are a bit goofy. But that final form.
Yeah, even though when he starts getting to land, you know?
Yeah.
He looks a little bit goofy, but if you imagine yourself... Yeah. If you imagine yourself in the position of the people, I think a giant...
That'd be horrifying!
Yeah. Just imagine these dead, big, googly eyes watching you, and he doesn't blink. And then there's blood coming out of his gills. Is it gills?
Yeah.
Oh.
God. That is some disturbing imagery. This is the most like, body horror Godzilla, and like there is something very body horror that I want to bring up a little bit later.
Mm-hmm.
But there's just I like the fact that he's not just scaly. It's almost like he's almost cancerous.
Yeah, I wanted to say that it looks like he is like his whole skin is full of tumors.
Yeah. Like, this is... I felt sad for it. But not in a way of, oh, I'm rooting for you, but in a way of, like, you know, this feels wrong, you shouldn't be exist. Yeah. And I think this is what one of the best strengths of this movie is that it's like, it makes you... It humanizes Godzilla, but not in the way of making him act like a human, in the way that you feel bad for it. But then it's also the only Godzilla movie I've ever watched where I've legitimately been afraid of him.
Yeah.
Because he's not just some fictional goofball or some overpowered thing. He's legitimately unstoppable and terrifying.
Yeah, like we talked about how this movie has funny moments, but those funny moments are not connected to Godzilla himself. So he's not the one we are laughing about.
And it knew when to stop being funny.
Yes.
It very heavily drops the comedic act, especially when he gets to his fourth stage.
Mm.
The film stops being a comedy.
Yeah.
But it was never a comedy, but you know, I think there's only like, apart from the ending, there was only like maybe one or two moments that got a chuckle out of me.
Mm.
Which is great. Also, the black and red aesthetic was so good.
Mm-hmm. So even though this Godzilla looks pretty different from the other incarnations of Godzilla, he, especially the head, resembles the one of the first Godzilla.
Yeah, this is I agree. This is very much a reimagining of that film.
Mm-hmm.
And all you've got to do is look at the reason why each movie was made.
Yeah.
Because the original was a criticism of the atomic bomb testing and, of course, the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Mm-hmm.
Whilst this was a criticism of the government's poor handling of the Fukushima nuclear disaster.
And the earthquake and the
Just
tsunami
everything
before.
that happened that year. Poor Japan.
Yes.
And, like...
Well, each of them consequented each
Yeah.
other. Like, first the earthquake, then tsunami, then Fukushima.
Yeah. I think that's what that's Godzilla at its best, when it's, like, it's huge, it's very personal.
Mm-hmm.
Because what I liked about this movie especially was it challenged me, and it challenged me in the way of, I was thinking, what would I do in this scenario?
Mm.
How would I lead? How would I cope? Because it's like, this is the only Godzilla movie I've ever watched that's actually, answered, asked questions like, okay, you're evacuating Tokyo. What do you do with the 3 million people?
Yeah, where do you put them?
It's like, oh, we just nuke him. It's like, yeah, dropping a third bomb in Japan. That's not going to piss anyone off.
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting how they show how deeply connected everything is in international politics.
Yes! Because that's what I mean by it's a political drama.
Mm-hmm.
Because suddenly Japan now has the problem of, they're having to, raise their military for the first time in World War II. But
Yeah.
that's going to get the attention of America. And America have their own motives in this because they're afraid that he's going to come to the West Coast.
Exactly.
The United Nations are freaking the fuck out. It's a really interesting and interconnected thing, and what I'm especially a fan of. And this is something that I kind of criticize. I personally have an issue with the modern Godzilla movies doing. In fact, I have a
American
problem with
ones.
the American ones. In fact, I'd
Yeah.
actually argue I have a problem with every Godzilla movie doing this. I'm not a fan of human villains in kaiju movies.
Yeah, it doesn't really make sense. Like in this movie, every human character kind of is good and tries the best for the country.
Mm-hmm. Like when they were having cabinet meetings and, there were some very heated disagreements, I found myself understanding everyone's side.
Yeah.
I understood the military side of, like, we need to deal with this fast. I understood the science side of, like, no, we can handle this more peacefully. But we need time. Like, it's like I could... It didn't feel they were competing. It felt like, as I just said, it's like, it's just a group of humans trying their best.
Yeah, like the scientists, they wanted to have probes of Godzilla just to understand why he's there and what created him, and if there will be more of him.
Yeah. And so, like, I criticize this when we watch Mothra, which is, I find one of the reasons I don't like human villains in these movies is because there comes a point where it's like, you're so fucking unbelievable. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Like the villain in Mothra kidnapping the twin fairies, and then even when a giant moth is coming to get them, refusing to back down. Like, dude. But I'm just so glad that, like, everyone seemed reasonable, and any early traces of there's going to be drama was dropped.
Yes, like, the people aren't the problem in this movie. The problem is more like the bureaucracy surrounding everything. Like, there are discussions where they talk about who is responsible for this and that stuff.
Yeah.
Because they have all those ministries and departments who take care of different stuff, but nobody knows who takes care of a giant atomic lizard.
Oh, yeah, because the special forces were just there like, yeah, we have no precedent for this. What do we do?
Yeah.
One of the most... I think this is one of the most touching scenes in the entire movie was towards the second half where and I'm going to put this like a, last call for spoiler territory.
Mm.
When after the Prime Minister's death, and the emergency Prime Minister is called in.
Mm-hmm.
I felt his line where he has to make the difficult decision of, do we drop a third nuke on Tokyo? And he looks out the window and is like, I didn't want to be remembered like this. It's like, it's such a powerful scene, in my opinion, because you can tell he's not just some malicious politician. He is someone who has been handed hell on a platter and has been told you are responsible for this.
He didn't want to be the new prime minister. He just was the oldest He
was the best guy for the job.
Yeah.
And it's such a powerful scene. And similarly, you're gonna notice that and this is actually gonna lead into a point I'll make later. I don't remember most of the characters' names.
Yeah, but I don't think that this is important.
It's not important.
No.
I think the girl was called Kyoko, the American girl.
Mm-hmm.
And she's talking with a guy. And they're talking about, how the US is handling this.
Mm-hmm.
And she makes a really interesting point, which is that, they're kind of criticizing the president. Because, you're just doing kind of what the president wants. And then she just said, when, Japan has a crisis, who do I go to? It's interesting because it's like, while I understand, this film's critique of Japan, the American and Japanese relationship post-war,
mm-hmm.
at the same time, it makes a good point. It's every world leader's in the same boat. There are world leaders who are worse, but at the end of the day, it's a similar chain of command.
Mm-hmm.
I was not expecting a political drama. It's a political drama with a giant lizard. It's everything I love in a movie.
Yeah.
Do you have any point you want to lead on to, or can I mention my point about the humans?
You can go on if you want. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, I just fucking love this movie. I realised that, oh my god, I've been raving about this film.
Yeah, the first 8 minutes are just us saying, wow, this movie is good. Without any...
Just what a good film! I saw a really interesting review on this film.
Mm-hmm.
Because I like to get other people's opinions before we do the podcast.
Was it a positive or a negative review?
It was a positive review.
Okay.
And it made a good point, because my main issue with this movie is... And this is weird, because the humans are always the thing I complain most about with the film, but, it's there are so many fucking characters.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest complaint everybody had with this movie. Too many characters and too many places to remember, and then you have to remember each and every position.
Mm-hmm.
But let me say something about this when you finished your point, because I have my own theory about this.
We might have the same theory, because I agree with the theory this reviewer put out. The reason they did this was that the film isn't Godzilla versus random American family.
Mm.
Or Godzilla versus Area 51. It's Godzilla versus Japan itself.
Yeah.
Every character are just meant to represent individual pieces of Japan.
Yeah.
It's that's the reason they don't have much development or much depth, is because for the most part that's not what the film's about. It's about Japan proving that it can deal with it.
Yeah, it's the emancipation of Japan from global politics. It's so dependent nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
Everything seems kind of dependent of the US.
Yeah, blame the Civil War, the Cold War for that.
Yeah.
because obviously Japan and Germany were in the same boat after World War Two.
Yeah.
They.
Yeah, we know what happened.
Yeah, we know what happened. We know what happened. I don't need to like history nerd and get out the thing, but like, I was going to also go into the fact that like the Allies kind of took over reparations. Which is why like Japan is so close to America.
Yeah.
And
like
in some ways that's a good thing, but in some ways it's kind of a problem.
Yeah, you always forget about it because if you look at the map, you see, oh, okay, so Japan is on the right side of the map and America's on the left side. If you look at the Eurocentric, yeah, and then you think, oh, the Earth is a globe. Well,
it's like, oh no. No. We follow donut theory in this. The Earth is a donut.
The Earth is actually a Velociraptor.
Yes. Wrapped to Earth.
Yeah.
Gosh.
I wanted to touch on my approach. Why there are so many characters and stuff like this. I think it puts the viewer in the shoes of politicians. Like they have to know all those people, all those places, and every job every politician has.
Yeah.
So it's like they put the bureaucracy on screen. Like there's this one scene where they are talking about one law, and the law is on the screen. You remember?
Yes.
Like that's so much information, and I think that's what the characters in the movie felt too, because they were just overwhelmed with the situation.
Yeah. I completely I get you there.
Yeah, so the movie overwhelms the viewer with information too. But it's not even necessary to understand everybody's position in this movie.
Yeah, and similarly, they didn't need a relatable character in. Because at the end of the day, it's a film about a giant lizard destroying Tokyo. What the fuck do you do in that situation? That's when protocol is out the window and it's down to humanity.
Exactly. I was watching scenes of the Godzilla movie compared with pictures of the actual tsunami and earthquake. Like, it's like a mirror.
Yeah.
You're seeing if you're not seeing Godzilla right now in a shot, you can't really differentiate between reality and the movie.
No, I know exactly what you mean. The original also has this vibe. When they showed the shelter full of, people who have, just withstood his attack. If you had just showed me that footage on its own and told me, this was a hospital after Hiroshima, I would have believed you.
I actually went to Hiroshima once and went into the atomic bomb museum.
Yeah.
And wow. If you have the chance to go there, it is really an experience, and it
is on my bucket list.
Yeah.
Literally one of the things I want to do is I want to go pay my respects at Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Yeah, I was speechless after the museum.
Because,
I
don't know if
this was horror.
Yeah, it is complete... War is hell.
Yeah.
I mean, this is probably going to come up a lot in this podcast. I am a very anti-war person. I am a pacifist. I legitimately believe there has only been a handful of truly justified wars in all of history.
Mm-hmm.
And as a result, Hiroshima and Nagasaki are very special places to me, because in my eyes they embody exactly what I just said: war is hell. And like, I want to visit those places one day, and just, as I said, pay my respects.
Yes. It's like, in both cases, civilians were the people who died.
Yeah.
It was like, in most wars, they try to have a line between civilians and the military, because the military, they know what they are getting into, what they sign up for.
Yeah. Like, a really good example, the wars of 1066, the Battle of Hastings, that was mostly fought on a hill.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't really much civilian crossfire there. And I think this film, because I think people forget that about Godzilla. It's easy to forget with all the silliness that this is an allegory for atomic warfare.
Yeah.
And I think by representing him as an actual demon who's only getting more powerful, as an allegory for the fact that the more we develop atomic weapons, the worse it's going to get.
Yeah.
God, this film's fucking fantastic. Like, ugh. In my mind, the best kind of films are the ones that I could watch like twice in the same week. If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
The films that I'm like, that was so powerful, so great, I want to watch that again.
And Godzilla is one of those. Shin Godzilla is one of those.
Yes. I think this surpasses the original.
Yeah.
The original's good, but the original's very slow.
Yes. It's maybe because it aged. Viewing experience changed.
Yeah, and obviously, film has gotten better.
Yeah.
Like, I personally think film peaked in, like, the 70s and 80s.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it's gone downhill from then. I think that's, like, when it got its best. If you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I still want to watch a lot of 80s and 70s movies with you.
Oh my gosh, yes. Sorry, just an aside before I get to my next point. I sent Leon my, because we discuss what suggestions we do before we do it, so that, we don't suggest something the other's not comfortable with.
Mm.
And, like, oh my gosh, there's a couple films on there that I'm like, oh, we've got to watch. But
look forward to it.
Yes, me too. I'm trying to remember what my next point was, because I've completely forgotten. I know the point I want to save to the end of the podcast.
So, do you want me to make another point?
Yeah, go ahead.
That? Okay, so right now we talked a lot about the story and the structure of the movie, but we didn't talk about the special effects and stuff like this.
Yes.
We didn't touch this till now. Do you want to go deeper into this part?
He's a guy in a suit. He's a guy in a suit again.
What?
I'm so happy he's a guy in a suit again. And a puppet. It's practical effects.
It's not a guy in a suit. It just looks like a guy in a suit.
Okay, it just looks like, but like, it's practical.
Kind of. They used CGI. They used motion tracking, stuff like this. But they made it look like it was a guy in a suit.
Then holy shit, that's the best damn CGI I've ever seen.
Yeah. I think it's especially this well because Godzilla moves really slow. and that's why it can be rendered perfectly. Like, it really looks like there is a guy in a suit.
Yeah. And I suppose that, because I'm assuming this film had a massive budget,
Yeah.
when you've only got one monster to render, really, you can get away with spending half the budget on it. And I'm so glad they did. This is the best he's ever looked.
Yeah. I just sent...
Oh my god! Oh, I want that man's job.
I just sent Claire a picture of the guy in the
a
motion
mask!
capture
He's got a
suit.
mask on! I love this man.
So I don't know, Claire, do you put pictures in the podcast sometimes?
I'll just link it. I link it in the description.
Okay.
Just because if I did, it would really bloat the editing process.
Yeah, okay.
But if you send me that when when it's done, I'll happily link it.
Okay, perfect.
Oh my god, I love how he looks. This is my favourite Godzilla appearance. As we mentioned earlier, he looks demonic.
Yeah, I just want to say that Shinji Higuchi was the co-director, and
Okay.
he was the one who made the practical effects. And the last film he directed was the Attack on Titan live-action movies that you see some of them.
Oh, I haven't watched it, but I have seen the visual effects. I'm like, yeah, they look creepy.
Yeah.
I think I like how that film looks because it's uncanny valley, yes, but that's kind of the point of the Titans.
Yeah. You are a big fan of Gamera, right?
No, I like Gamera.
He was the one who made special effects back then.
Oh, nice. He made our turtle lad.
Yeah. So maybe that's how some listeners remember him if they watched Gamera.
Gamera. Oh, gosh. That's just there's 100 million little tiny details I could pick apart. But I want to bring up one of the two coolest things. I'm going to bring up my favourite scene in the entire movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's the night battle scene in Tokyo.
Oh yeah, that one's brutal.
Because initially, it's cinema gold. Cinematography's incredible. It's really dark. You're just getting those brief bits of lighting from the battle. You've got the Prime Minister who has had this back and forth debate of should he abandon his station for safety or should he stay? And then he starts to glow. And I knew the atomic breath would happen. But holy fuck.
I think that's the most destructive the atomic breath has ever been.
It fucking leveled Tokyo.
And it's really interesting how it paralyzes him after that, because this just shows how much energy he puts into this.
Yeah,
Like
he takes him out for 2 weeks.
Yeah, Godzilla is his own nuclear plant.
Yes.
So yeah, after this incident, he just stays there for 2 weeks, 2 or 3, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where a really interesting plot point happens, because the US says, before he awakes, we will bomb him with another atomic bomb.
Which I just want to say, as an aside, is perhaps one of the stupidest ideas I've ever heard. I get the concept, but guys, really?
Well, they want to destroy him even on a cellular level.
Yeah, like I understood the idea. Million degrees heat.
Yes, because things that were cut out of the movie. I think you see just a small thing, like after all this destruction, there's a team sent to inspect Godzilla, right?
Yeah.
You remember this, where they are stumbling through all this rumble.
Yeah. I've. They go check on him and.
Yeah, and then you see something
Was this the blood
meaty
scene?
falling.
Was this the cut blood scene?
No, not the cut blood scene.
Okay.
You see that there's something slimy falling from him.
Okay.
Do you remember?
Vaguely. Maybe.
Okay.
What was it?
So there's this team, and they walk to Godzilla, and when they are near him, there's something like body parts falling from him.
Mm-hmm.
And it was cut that it cuts to the body parts that fell. And the thing is, if it showed what just fell off from Godzilla, you would see that it's a meaty, fleshy part of him, and it has teeth and eyes.
Oh, that is bad body horror.
Yeah. So it's suggested that Godzilla will come back if you don't destroy every cell of him.
Yeah, I think the director even said that, like, in his eyes, that is the only way to truly kill Shin Godzilla. Also, can we just appreciate, back to the atomic breath real quick?
Yeah.
This caught me off guard. The fucking back beams. I was like, oh, that's new.
Yeah.
Godzilla can't do that. But I particularly like the idea that wasn't intentional on Godzilla's part. I like the idea that, like, the radiation was getting so hot it was literally piercing his skin.
That it was leaking.
Yeah. And then the moment he realizes, like, oh, I can use this. The tail as well. The tail does that.
Yeah, the tail is quite disgusting too.
The tail is the point I was wanted to make. I've been building up to.
Like, there's one scene where you see the tail in the background, and it's really blurry, and it looks like the tail has a face of its own. That's maybe the third form of him.
The original plan was the fourth form was going to have a Godzilla face on the tail, but I think the right holders was like, okay, that's a bit. We're willing to give you creative freedom, but that's a bit too much.
Yeah, like the blood scene you talked about earlier.
Yeah.
There was a scene where he was in his third form and he was vomiting blood, and the blood was melting away everything it touched.
Which is cool. But
also disgusting.
I think the concept art for the fifth form which my headcanon is the nuke would have created the fifth form. And that has tail head.
Yeah.
But
now, again, back to the tail, because you wanted to talk about it.
I have a theory about the tail.
Yeah.
Because, coincidentally, when we was getting to that scene, my housemate came in, because, the film was wrapping up. And I paused it just as it was coming up the tail. I was like, oh, look, there's an eye. And I unpaused it, and we were both there in horror as it started to pan up. I was just like, what the fuck?
You mean the last scene?
The last scene of the movie, after they have defeated and frozen Godzilla, is horrifying. It is legitimately uncomfortable and interesting. Because that whole scene is great. It's like a really hopeful ending. it's a really happy ending where like they work out that the half-life. I think they say that like because of how the half-life of the Godzilla isotope, the Tokyo area will be clean in 3 years.
Yeah.
And like it's showing the survivors celebrating. They're talking about the reshuffling of the cabinet and how they're going to kind of like build Japan up from the ashes. I think he says that like Japan was built from scratch and they're going to rebuild it from scratch. And it then shows Godzilla, but then it pans up his tail, and initially it's like it's got teeth, it's got eyes, it supports my cancer theory. But then there are these really mutated, almost humanoid creatures like crawling up it, which I have a theory about what the seed symbolizes. That symbolizes humanity's end in nuclear war. They are mutated humans. And
I don't want to go too much into it because with a lot of Hideaki Anno's work, he's pretty much up to interpretation, the endings.
Oh, is he a bit like David Lynch?
Yeah.
Where it's like,
he's the
will you
Japanese
explain
David
that?
Lynch.
No. What? What'd you say, sorry?
No, not at all.
yeah.
But
Just, it's like, I'm not going to explain that. Work it out yourself.
yeah, because that's not why art is made. Like, my idea of art is that the person who makes the art doesn't decide what it means to everybody who looks at it.
Ah, so you subscribe to Death of the Author?
Yeah.
Which, for those of you who have never heard this term, Death of the Author is the idea, basically what Leon just said. When the art is out of the artist's hands, it no longer belongs to the artist. In an interpretive way, it of course belongs to the artist.
It belongs to the artist, but
in interpretation,
the artist itself, he gives his creativity and what he made, he gives it all to the public, and the public decides. No, like the individuals decide what it means for them.
So, like, I just want to give up a really good example of it, if I can.
Yeah.
A very big current perspective that's building up, that Batman kind of represents how billionaires do really small acts to try and make themselves feel good and look like heroes, when in reality, if they just gave away their wealth, they'd actually fix the problem.
Yeah.
That's a good example of Death of the Author.
Yeah.
But yes, as you were saying, the creator's work is always up for interpretation.
But now we heard your interpretation, and I think that's totally fine. Because that is one way to look at it.
Yeah. What is your way to look at it? I'm actually really curious.
My way. For me, it's like... in the end, they are saying we have to learn to live with Godzilla now. And this is the idea, like, we have atomic power plants all over the world now. And I don't think that we will get rid of them anytime soon. And that humans have to live with this horror they brought upon themselves, and these humanoid things that grow out of the tail.
Yeah.
For me, they represent that it's out of our control. Like, Godzilla evolves, and humans can't do anything about it. And maybe we will get to a point someday where we can't control what we brought upon ourselves,
Yeah.
Like, someday Godzilla will probably awake, and then it's over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is a fascinating one. And it's really interesting because nuclear energy is... It's really weird, isn't it? Because it's like, it's actually a really clean and really good form of energy. But it's really dangerous, and if put in the wrong hands, which tragically it is in the wrong hands, it's destructive.
I heard about another technology they are trying to develop right now, and it's nuclear fusion, which will probably give even more energy to us, and it is theorized to be more clean because it will not produce waste.
Yeah, because that's the big problem.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
But I'm not smart enough to know about that.
Neither am I.
Yeah,
Gosh,
maybe you can Google it yourself.
One last point I wanted to make on this film. And this is a rarity for movies that I adore. Because usually I'm all for C continuations. I'm perfectly okay with us never getting a Shin Godzilla 2. I don't want a Shin Godzilla 2.
Yeah, the thing is, they are planning to do something like a MonsterVerse 2.
There is something I want from this idea, though.
Like, I don't know how they are planning to do it, but they just announced Shin Ultraman, you know?
Yeah, I
sent you the teaser of it.
Yes, you did. That looked really good. But I think you just brought... I think we have a very similar idea on this. I don't want Shin Godzilla 2. I want Shin Ghidorah.
Right.
I want Shin
that
Mothra.
They do new approaches on all those monsters. They don't have to be all in there. Sadly, Hideaki Anno won't be the director of Shin Ultraman. He will just be the producer. But the co-director, so Shinji Higuchi, he will be the main director. The guy who did the special effects.
Okay, yeah.
Godzilla.
Yeah, I am all for modern, darker, but still keeping the spirit interpretations.
Yeah. Maybe we should link the teaser to Shin Ultraman 2.
Yes. If I don't, you can just Google it, but I will try my best.
Well, I write down what we want to link, so
thank you.
We don't forget.
I'm glad this movie exists.
Yeah.
Because I like Godzilla King. I like Godzilla King of the Monsters, the new one. But I'm glad that there is a recent Godzilla movie that proves that you can do something with this character.
Like, the American approach is it's an action movie.
Yes.
And the Japanese approach is more like... Yeah.
It's like a disaster horror movie.
Yeah.
It
stands for something.
To that
It's not just a popcorn movie.
To that degree, and... I think I've given this rating, but a of the time thing. I think I gave this rating for Caligari, but of the time. And I think I might have given... I don't remember, sadly. But, Shin Godzilla's a 10.
Okay.
This is, in my eyes, one of the most perfect movies I've ever watched. It did everything it needed to do, and not a bit more.
Yeah. I would say for me it's a 10 too. Not because I think it's a perfect movie. Of course it has flaws and we talked about them, maybe too many characters, but I think that has a meaning to it, like I said already. And for me personally, it's a solid 10. It's just a I had so much fun with this movie.
Yes. Yes, no, I could. It's a fun movie, but not in a it's dumb fun. It's a fun, exciting, impactful, emotional film.
Yeah. So it's a definite recommendation of us.
Just watch this movie.
Yeah, please do
I
it.
think it got a new Blu-ray release. The DVD release is pretty good. It'll be on something.
I watched the Blu-ray.
Just watch it.
Yeah.
Also, shout out to its title, Shin Godzilla, which is a great title, and I prefer it to Godzilla Resurgence, which is the original American title. Like, Resurgence, that always implies it's his return, but that's not what the film's about.
And Shin can mean different things. Like, it can mean new, true, or God.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's written in katakana.
Yeah.
And it doesn't show a kanji, which would make it definite meaning.
And that fits because it's a new Godzilla. It's the truest version of his vision, and he is the god of the monsters. You know, if classic is the king, this is the devil.
Yeah.
Can I bring up next time's film?
Yeah.
It is. Well, at the time of recording, it is summer. We are recording this in early May, and May summer. But I think this episode will be going up around June, I believe.
That you still can keep track of all this, because I don't know where we are right now in the timeline.
Well, I know. Okay, I know. So, Pulse comes out on the 18th.
Okay.
And it's every 2 weeks. However, with Star Wars Week, we deviated. Because Star Wars Week was a week after an episode, so I had that be immediately, and then I had the 2 week break. With a week break.
Okay.
Pulse will be on the 1st. No, sorry. This is will be on the 1st. And then my next film will be on the 15th, unless anything goes wrong.
Okay.
And that is Summer Wars. It is an animated. It's an anime movie, so we're not fucking leaving Japan. Holy shit! We might need to go to Japan ban for a bit. I think this will be our 10th. I think this will be our 10th one. No, it won't. Hang on. No, this will be our 9th episode.
Okay.
It is a Mamoru Hosoda anime film. Released in 2009. And if you have seen the Our War Game part of the Digimon movie, this is kind of a reimagining of it.
I didn't see it.
That's good. I mean, I love Our War Game, but like you can kind of go into this fresh.
Okay.
And it is about a version of our world where everything is fully integrated into this social network platform.
So, like, it's just our world.
Yeah, it's our world, but like, imagine if everything was linked to Twitter. Everything.
Okay.
And,
that sounds pretty
a computer
toxic.
virus gets into it.
That sounds even more toxic.
And, as well as that, the main character whose account has been taken over has to go to the middle of fucking nowhere with one of his friends because she needs to pretend she has a boyfriend for her family.
Well, okay, that sounds like an interesting movie.
It's a really fucking weird film, but like I promise you, it blends together so surprisingly well.
Okay, looking forward to it.
I am too. I haven't watched this movie in years. It won Best Animated Film
Hey.
from multiple awards. Sorry, I've got the Blu-ray right here. It won multiple Best Animated Film awards. Right,
Nice.
this has been another episode, fuck, almost dropped it, of Atom Path. I have been your host, the lovely Claire, and, if you're watching this, listening to it, or, from the future, tasting or smelling it, or maybe you're feeling it, or some sixth sense we haven't discovered yet, like Flurg.
Okay, that's new. But go on.
I think scientists have actually worked out we have a sixth sense of something. But regardless of that, no matter what form, we appreciate it. So we'll be seeing you guys next time.
I've been Leon, and as always, bye.
We end it with the bye.